Hey guys, I want you to think about how nice it would be to max out your retirement accounts each and every year. Now I want you to think about how nice it would be to max out those retirement accounts and basically have no effort at all in doing so, essentially having it done while you're asleep. Well, I've developed a method that's allowed me to do this consistently over the last several years, and I'm about to share it with you. But the only way you'll get me to spill my beans and tell you all my secret methods in order to do this is to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel right now. But in all seriousness, I want to jump right into this and not tease this out there. Essentially what I'm talking about is maxing out your 401k and also your IRA each and every year. So in 2019, the maximum contribution that you can make into your individual retirement account is $6,000. And the maximum contribution amount that you can make into an employer-funded 401k account is $19,000. So simple math together allows that to be $25,000 that we can put each year into those tax-advantaged accounts for our retirement. And I know there are probably some skeptics out there that probably think that I have some methods that maybe aren't available to the general public, or I have a salary that's high and above what the normal person would have, and that's really not true at all. I've been able to accomplish this ever since I was in my mid-20s, and these are all methods that literally anyone can do starting right now. So since IRAs and 401ks work a little bit different, I'm going to break those into essentially two separate buckets. And the first thing I want to talk about is my IRA, and I'm going to show you exactly how I max out that IRA each and every year, which again is $6,000 in 2019. So just like all of you, I have bills that I have to pay every single month. I have mortgage, I have utilities, I have groceries, you name it, I have to pay for it. And the thing that most people do every single month or every single time they get a paycheck is that they pay these expenses first. And so once they pay those expenses, whatever is left over is generally what gets divided up between their entertainment purchases and whatever goes into their savings and investment accounts. So what's allowed me to make consistent contributions into my IRA each and every paycheck that allows me to max that out each year is that I've actually flipped that upside down. That whenever I get a paycheck every single pay period, there is a portion of that paycheck that automatically gets transferred out and goes into that IRA. I don't have to touch it, I don't have to do anything, I don't think about it. It goes in there without me doing anything. Now here's the reason why I do this. As I mentioned, most people pay their normal expenses right off the top whenever they get a paycheck. And whenever it comes down to those entertainment purchases or those discretionary purchases and also your savings, a lot of times your savings or your investments get ignored, or you have the type of mindset that's, well, you know, I don't have enough money to contribute into my IRA this month or this paycheck. I'll double up next paycheck. Well, the next paycheck comes around and those expenses come back around again, and you're faced with that decision all over again. And more times than not, whenever it comes to paying yourself and making those contributions into your IRA, that is the one that gets pushed aside more than anything. So in order to just solve this problem completely, I make that contribution automatically to where I don't have any control over that. It doesn't, I don't have any temptation to spend that money on something else, and it goes out before I ever even see it. Now I know a lot of you are probably sitting there doing the math in your heads, and you realize that in order to max out that IRA, you would have to contribute $500 a month out of your paychecks in order to get to that $6,000 mark by the end of the year. And that's completely true. You can't expect to go from 0 to 500 right off the bat if you've never saved in this manner before, and that's really not the point. Even with myself, I started out very small. As a young adult, while I was still in college, I was taking about $25 each paycheck and automatically contributing that into my IRA. And then as I got older, as my salary steadily increased, as I got into better positions, then those contributions that I made each paycheck got bigger and bigger, and those grew bigger and bigger each time. Now I realize you still may be telling yourself, well, $500 a month still is just completely unrealistic to expect to contribute each month into an IRA. And the good news is there are ways to make this up. So as you're making those automatic contributions each paycheck and you get to the point where you just really can't contribute anymore without affecting other areas of your life that aren't negotiable, the two factors that I would look into is one, your tax return, which the average American generally gets about $3,000 a year in tax returns. That is a really easy method to start putting a good chunk, if not all of that money, into your IRA. And the other method is a lot of us are fortunate to have bonuses from our employer. Maybe we get sales incentives, whatever type of career you're in. You might get a Christmas bonus, whatever it may be. Generally, how I always worked this whenever I was growing up is that one, I would always put my tax return into my IRA, and then any bonuses that I got from work would also go directly into my IRA. So that helped ease the burden of those regular automatic contributions that I was making out of my paycheck, to where I never got to the point where I had to lay out $500 each month. But even if you get to the point where you can contribute $200 or $300 each month out of those paychecks, then generally you can make up the rest pretty easily whenever it comes to your tax returns and whatever bonuses are offered by your employer. So I know I just kind of spilled out a lot of information right off the bat there, but the four things that you have to keep in mind and the four key rules, or the key secrets, I guess, if you've never heard of these before, that allow you to easily get to the point of making those contributions and never even thinking about it, is that first, you pay yourself first. Second is that you make those payments automatic to where you don't have that temptation to spend that money on anything else. Then once you set that up, you make gradual increases to those contribution limits to where it gets bigger and bigger and bigger each time. And then finally, if there is still a difference to where you're not able to max out that IRA, you can make up the difference, whether it be from your tax returns, your employer bonuses, or any other type of unexpected increase in pay that you might get throughout the year. And I can assure you this method absolutely works. There's not been a year since I was maybe 21 or 22 years old, while I was even still in college, to where I was able to start maxing out that IRA. And over the years, the maximum contribution limits have gradually increased on IRAs, so it's not been $6,000 for every single year. But it still holds true that if you're following those four steps, you will eventually get to the point where that IRA is getting maxed out every single year and you're really not making any effort at all. So now that we talked about the IRA, I want to switch over into your employer 401k. And even though that these are a little bit different, they work somewhat differently from each other, the methods still hold true with your 401k in order to max that out. Now, the nice thing with a 401k is that the first two steps that I mentioned previously are already taken care of for you. You're getting paid first because that contribution is taken out of your paycheck, and then it's done automatically. So if you ever look at your pay stub, you'll see whatever contribution limit that you have contributed to your 401k is automatically taken out, and you never have to touch anything. You never have to physically make that transfer yourself, and it's done automatically, and it's done first before you ever get that net amount of the paycheck. Now, the beautiful thing that comes with most employer 401ks is that most employers have some type of match that they will contribute into your 401k. And it always makes me scratch my head whenever I hear about individuals that don't take advantage of this, or that don't contribute the minimum amount in order to get that match from their employer, because this is the only guaranteed investment that you will ever get in your life. And I'm not saying that the investments that are held within your 401k are guaranteed, but as long as you're making the contribution in order to get that match from your employer, then it doesn't matter what your investments are doing. It doesn't matter what other external factors are going on, is that you're getting free money from your employer that's guaranteed based on whatever contract they have with you. So the fact of the matter is, if you get nothing else from this video, always, always, always make sure you're contributing at least the minimum amount required to get the match from your employer within your 401k program, because it's literally free money. If you're not taking advantage of this, seriously, stop being dumb. And whatever you do, first thing in the morning, whenever you get to work, make sure you start contributing at least the minimum amount in order to get that match. All right, so I'll get off my soapbox about the 401k employer match, and I'll get on to my next aspect again, which is the gradual increase. And to give an example of myself again, whenever I was 20, 21 years old and really first starting to get into my career, I set it up to where I was contributing 5% of my income into the 401k program because that was the amount that I needed to contribute in order to get the employer match. So again, whenever I would get my paychecks each week, I wouldn't even see the amount that was being taken out of my paycheck that would go into my 401k program. So I just got used to the fact that I was getting paid a certain amount each week, and I never even considered that amount that was going into my 401k. And again, over time, whenever my salary continued to increase gradually and the positions, I was promoted up to better positions. And along with that, anytime I would get a promotion or a raise of any kind, then those contribution limits that I would put into my 401k gradually increased along with that. So the common mistake a lot of people make is that whenever they get a raise or a pay increase at work, they ignore their 401k and they just look at that extra money that they're getting and think, oh, well, I can just start buying more stuff, or I can get a more expensive car or a more expensive house or a big screen TV or whatever it may be. When in reality, the first thing that you need to consider is making sure that that contribution that you're making within your 401k is increasing along with your salary. So that's what I've always done. And now that I'm 29 years old, I now contribute 18% of my salary into my 401k automatically. So I started out at 5%, and just with gradual increases, I worked myself up to 18% currently. And again, with these gradual increases, I never even really noticed a difference of the amounts coming out of my paycheck. I just made sure it corresponded with whatever amount that I was making. And as I continued to grow that, it got to the point where it was well over the national average of what most people contribute into their 401k account, which is basically very minimal. And it got to the point where I was well over 15%, and also allowing me to max out that $19,000 contribution limit into my 401k. So that's it, guys. Those are the tried and true methods that I use every single day that have allowed me to max out my IRA consistently each year, and also allow me to max out my 401k each year. And these are things that I've consistently done ever since I was 21 years old. And the secret behind this formula is that those gradual increases get to the point where even though you're starting out small and it may seem somewhat insignificant, if you're gradually making those increases to where those contributions are going up over time, you'll get to the point where you'll run into those max contribution limits in your retirement account without ever even thinking about it. And not only that, those automatic contributions will just essentially become a habit to where you won't even notice it coming out of your paycheck each pay period. And then before you know it, you'll be able to look at your retirement accounts and you'll have those maxed out without ever making any effort at all. So thanks again for joining me, guys. I challenge each and every one of you to start incorporating these methods into your daily practices, and I guarantee you they'll work wonders on your retirement accounts. Until next time.